I just want to play another demo that came out recently, just so I can get a little bit of context going. And I just want to make clear that this is absolutely not like a an insult against that demo. Like, I just want to sort of get some context going here. So this is another GZ Doom based game, Beyond Sunset. If you look at this, you'll see that, like, even though they've been shoved off to the left here, this is Beyond Sunset, it is great, you should play it. But, like, if you'll notice that the menus, while still shoved off to the left a little bit to make them more unique, they're still very much that Doom menu with the pixel art, fonts and that. I wonder if my save games still exist. So it's still got these pixel art fonts, the big thick pixels on the menu. Like, it's clearly a new game, but like, there's still these little bit fragments of Doom. Like, in another world, this could have been a mod, a very big mod, a very cool mod, but it's using the commercial nature of itself to throw more power into the more work into the assets and that, so they can have more original assets, and rather than like going full tilt into the into like de-dooming things. I hope that makes sense. Like, as a modder, there's still something that's kind of achievable. You can still see a lot of the GZ Doom stuff in there. So, Sulaco. Holy fuck, Sulaco. So the first thing you'll notice is that the fonts here in the corner, they're not pixel art. Like, they're vector smooth. Like, they're not vectors, they're still bitmaps, but like they're 1:1 scale with the screen, so there's no pixels, it just looks smooth. It's very, very slick. And also the menu system from Doom has basically been completely thrown out in favour of this whole new UI system they've done shit with. It's legitimately fascinating, the sheer amount of work they put into the UI stuff that a lot of Doom mods, myself included, and standalone games, just like sort of go good enough with. It's a very different aesthetic from what you've seen with everything else that's been done with GZ Doom. It's a whole different animal, I suppose. And yeah, you look at stuff like this, you've got the vector models here, with the Deus Ex style grabbability stuff. You've got the detailed subtitle system that actually reacts to the voiceover, which is it sounds like a simple thing, but it really isn't. You've got all these dynamic lights and shaders and stuff, and just realised that, like, okay, with these previous GZ Doom games like Supplice and Age of Necromancy, now they're cool and all, and Age of Hell and stuff, they're cool and all, and they're doing great stuff that really takes advantage of the engine, but they're sort of on an achievable level. You can sort of look at them and be like, I can see how they did this, and with a little work, I can accomplish that sort of thing myself. And then you look at this and just like throw your hands up and be like, what the fuck? This is on an entirely other level. It is such a massive mic drop, the sheer amount of detail in the levels and the... Have you seen the fucking menus? There's like full-on accessibility stuff with example things. There's customization options for like disabling graphical effects. It's just like a... You remember that meme with like the "You are a little baby, watch this"? This is fucking it! They didn't just change the options menu deal up, they like completely built an entire UI infrastructure to completely replace GZ Dooms. It's kind of fucking mental. I think they're going to be releasing that to the community once the game reaches full release. I think at the moment it's kind of like they hard-coded things into a fork of the engine to like work around the stuff that they haven't done yet. Like, holy hell. There's so much cool shit. It's just on a whole... Like, there's been a bunch of GZ Doom standalone games, like Beyond Sunset, which I showed, Supplies, which has Cage's incredible pixel art, Age of Necromancy, which is Hexen inspired, so I am literally incapable of giving it a fair stab. And then there's this just doing so much other cool shit that nobody else has done or is doing. And it's like, sort of make, as someone who's sort of, I don't want to brag, but I've used this engine a little bit over the years, and like, it just sort of makes you think, what the fuck am I doing? Am I doing this right? Like, is this the new flaw? Sweet, how hard you have to get, otherwise you have to go home. And obviously that's like an incredibly unhealthy way to think about things, like trying to put your $0 hobbyist mods up against this. It's like trying to play pickup games with Michael Jordan. But like, oh hell, seeing something that I'm intimately familiar with from messing around with for years, bent into a completely new and alien shape that I have never considered in my time. It's just... hell. In a way, it's very encouraging because it shows how much more there is that I can do and how much more further you can go. But like, also, it's also incredibly discouraging because, in a way, it's sort of a chilling effect. I hope that other people don't have, because would you match this? Even matching it, like, not even matching, just like being like, how the hell do you get within the same hemispheres? Not even with the custom assets, like even if you were doing like a Ripfest thing or using Macon's awesome Quake wads, texture wads, like the sheer amount of detail, all the dynamic lights, all the custom systems, like there is no Doom left. It is its own unique animal. It is... There have been standalone GZ Doom projects in the past, like the ones that I talked about earlier. But this is the first standalone, unique, original game. Like, if I... Look at this tutorial pop-up! It's basically the Doom Eternal thing, entirely in GZ Doom. This whole new system, and if I press caps lock right here, this entire codex system with a fucking Windows system, like holy shit! I'm trying to find new and interesting ways to say it's a beast unlike anything this engine has ever seen. It's an entirely new game. I am repeating myself at this point. It is 4:30 in the morning, and I am shouting about a new video game on an old video game engine. I don't know how other GZ Doom projects are going to sort of respond to this. Because, like, mods and all, I'm talking about this from a modder perspective. I'm just making $0 hobbyist projects with, like, ripped sprites and everything. So, but, like, other commercial projects that are standalone games, they're not just competing for time, like I am. They're competing for the almighty dollar in a capitalist market, for lack of a better word. Just like, how are people like the Beyond Sunset people, the Supplies people, how are they gonna look at this and be like, okay, how do we react to this? I can't imagine. Like, if I was like charging, in a theoretical world where there was a realism game that wasn't just a copyright infringement bonanza, and like, I was charging money for it, I saw this, I would probably just immediately delist my project and move to a fucking monastery. Because how the fuck do you match this? It's just this... I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, D-Wub says, a bunch of people are going to be like, oh, here's some stuff we'll have to match in the sequel. Let's just push ahead with what we have now. But, like, maybe I'm just sort of broken-brained. Looking at things and being like, oh yeah, well, look what I can do. And just being like, looking at something and realizing that I can do nothing. I don't know. It's incredibly encouraging and incredibly discouraging at the same time, and I hope that other developers see it as more encouraging than not. Because holy shit, some of the stuff this game is doing is fucking nuts. If anyone's played this demo before, I'm trying to find Space Bro. Okay, so there's this minigame you can find on an arcade cabinet called Space Bro. And it's just a simple asteroid style thing, but it's an entirely 2D minigame. And like, I can see how I'd do it, like just using flat sprites with a camera pointing down, but they're doing it the proper way with like entirely 2D in the 2D drawer. And that's before the whole screen job thing got added to GZDoom with the better scripting of like the 2D drawer. So like, I'm just sort of looking at this simple 2D minigame and sort of tearing my brain apart, being like, how the fuck did they do this? How did they figure out how to do little 2D arcade games in the pre-existing GZDoom infrastructure? It's just mind-boggling. I'm sort of repeating this little Twitter thread I did at this point. I'm probably going to edit this out and post it somewhere, but like, it's sort of interesting just like it's one of those things where like, we've been doing things a certain way for a certain amount of time, and then somebody comes along with an entirely different way of doing things, and you just sort of stare at your hands and be like, how did I not think of this? How was I doing things like this way for so long without possibly thinking of doing it this way? And in a way that's exciting, because a lot of people are going to start pondering new and interesting ways to do things with this engine. And I think that's going to result in a lot of interesting innovation and stuff like that. But like, also, it's a hard act to follow. There's so much. It's one of those things you sort of have to like figure out your level of competence and be okay with that without letting the whole inferiority complex sort of thing sort of pollute your brain. And I kind of got that going, so like, I have to sort of figure out what I want to do and what I can learn from this, and sort of take that away and be like, yo, this is cool as fuck. What what can I sort of bring from this to something I'm doing? The lessons I can learn, even not just from code, just like learning the lessons. It's exciting and terrifying. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. And it's exciting and terrifying. God. I've been streaming for 4 hours.